Hey Colts, it's Mrs. Hladun. It is Wednesday afternoon, and I hope that you're having a great day. I had a really busy day, but it was really productive, and enjoyed the chance to connect with some of our teachers and some of my principal colleagues from around the district. And we're having our first staff meeting through Zoom tomorrow. So I'm really excited to see some of the same things that you're seeing. With your teachers, to do that with our own teachers. It'll be kind of fun. Anyways, today we're going to keep reading from Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, and we are on chapter 19. We are just like buzzing through this book, and we're going to read 2 chapters today. So the last chapter we read was 2 chapters ago, one of the boys that was in the chocolate factory got sucked up into a tube, and his parents were going to go find him in the fudge room. And then in the last chapter, they got onto this really cool pink boat that was carved out of like a fruit, but it was sugar. And they were going down this chocolate river past all these doors, and they stopped at door number 77. Nope, they're stopping at a different boat. But we don't know which boat it is. So or we don't know which door it is. So that's what we're going to find out. So this chapter is called The Inventing Room, Everlasting Gobstoppers and Hair Toffee. When Mr. Wonka shouted, "Stop the boat!" the Oompa Loompas jammed their oars into the river and backed water furiously. The boat stopped. The Oompa Loompas guided the boat alongside the red door. On the door it said, "Inventing Room, Private, Keep Out." Mr. Wonka took a key from his pocket, leaned over the side of the boat, and put the key in the keyhole. "This is the most important room in the entire factory," he said. "All of my most secret new inventions are cooking and simmering in here." Old Figglegrubber would give his front teeth to be allowed inside for just 3 minutes. So would Prodnose and Slugworth and all the other rotten chocolate makers. But now listen to me. I want no messing about when you go in, no touching, no meddling, no tasting. Is that agreed? "Yes, yes," the children cried. "We won't touch a thing." "Up to now," Mr. Wonka said, "nobody else, not even an Oompa Loompa, has been allowed in here." He opened the door and stepped out of the boat and into the room. The 4 children and their parents all scrambled after him. "Don't touch," shouted Mr. Wonka, "and don't knock anything over." Charlie Bucket started around the gigantic room in which he now found himself. The place was like a witch's kitchen. All about him, black metal pots were boiling and bubbling on huge stoves, and kettles were hissing, and pans were sizzling, and strange iron machines were clanking and sputtering, and there were pipes running all over the ceilings and walls, and the whole place was filled with smoke and steam and delicious, rich smells. Mr. Wonka himself had suddenly become even more excited than usual, and anyone could see that this was the room he loved best of all. He was hopping about among the saucepans and the machines like a child among his Christmas presents, not knowing which thing to look at first. He lifted the lid from a huge pot and took a sniff, and then he rushed over and dipped a finger into a barrel of sticky yellow stuff and had a taste. Then he skipped across to one of the machines and turned half a dozen knobs this way and that. Then he peered anxiously through the glass door of a gigantic oven, rubbing his hands and cackling with delight at what he saw inside. Then he ran over to another machine, a small, shiny affair that kept going phut, 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 phut. And every time it went phut, a large green marble dropped out of it into the basket on the floor. At least it looked like a marble. "Everlasting gobstoppers," cried Mr. Wonka proudly. Okay, here's a picture of the room. Okay, what do you see? Lots of different things, right? Lots of pots and dials and pipes. And Mr. Wonka does look really excited, doesn't he? All right, let's learn more about everlasting gobstoppers. "They are completely new. I am inventing them for children who are given very little pocket money. You can put an everlasting gobstopper in your mouth, and you can suck it and 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 suck it, and it will never get any smaller." "It's like gum," cried Violet Beauregard. "It's not like gum," Mr. Wonka said. "Gum is for chewing, and if you tried chewing one of these here gobstoppers, you'd break your teeth off, but they taste terrific, and they change color once a week, and they never get any smaller. They never disappear, never. At least I don't think they do. There's one of them being tested at this very moment in the testing room next door, and Oompa Loompa is sucking it. He's been sucking it for nearly a year now without stopping, and it's still just as good as ever." Now, over here, Mr. Wonka went on, skipping excitedly across the room to the opposite wall. Over here, I'm inventing a completely new line of toffees. He stopped beside a large saucepan. The saucepan was full of thick, gooey, purplish treacle, boiling and bubbling. By standing on his little toes, little Charlie could just see inside it. That's hair toffee, cried Mr. Wonka. You eat just one tiny bit of that, and in exactly half an hour, a brand new, luscious, thick, silky, beautiful crop of hair will start growing out on the top of your head, and a mustache and a beard. A beard, cried Veruca Salt. Who wants a beard, for heaven's sake? It would suit you very well, said Mr. Wonka, but unfortunately the mixture's not quite right yet. I've got it too strong. It works too well. I tried it on an Oompa Loompa yesterday in the testing room, and immediately a huge beard started shooting out of his chin, and the beard grew so fast that soon it was trailing all over the floor in a thick, hairy carpet. It was growing faster than we could cut it. In the end, we had to use a lawnmower to keep it in check. But I'll get the mixture right soon. And when I do, then there'll be no excuse for any more little boys and girls going with bald heads. But Mr. Wonka, said Mike Teavee, little boys and girls never do go about with... Don't argue, my dear child. Please don't argue, cried Mr. Wonka. It's such a waste of precious time. Now, over here, if you'll step this way, I'll show you something that I'm terrifically proud of. Oh, do be careful. Don't knock anything over. Stand back. I have to say that toffee is one of my number one favorite foods. Like, I love toffee. I could eat it by the box full. But I don't think I would want toffee that made me grow hair. I feel like I've got enough hair. What about you? Would you want more hair? Would you eat one of those toffees? I don't know. Okay, chapter 20 is called The Great Gum Machine. I think one of the characters is really going to like this particular space they're going to visit. The Great Gum Machine. Mr. Wonka led the party over to a gigantic machine that stood in the very center of the inventing room. It was a mountain of gleaming metal that towered high above the children and their parents. Out of the top corner of it, there sprouted handles and hundreds of thin glass tubes, and the glass tubes all curled downwards and came together in a bunch and hung suspended over an enormous round tub as big as a bath. Here we go, cried Mr. Wonka, and he pressed 3 different buttons on the side of the machine. A second later, a mighty rumbling sound came from inside it, and the whole machine began to shake, most frighteningly, and steam began hissing out all over, and then suddenly the watchers noticed that runny stuff was pouring down the insides of the hundreds of little glass tubes and squirting out into the great tub below. And in every single tube, the runny stuff was all different colors, so that all the colors of the rainbow, and many others as well, came sloshing and splashing into the tub. It was a lovely sight, and when the tub was nearly full, Mr. Wonka pressed another button, and immediately the runny stuff stopped running out of the tubes, and the rumbling sound disappeared, and the whizzing whirring noise took its place. And then a giant whizzer started whizzing round inside the enormous tub, mixing up all the different colored liquids like an ice cream soda. Gradually, the mixture began to froth. It became frothier and frothier, and it turned from blue to white to green to brown to yellow, and then back to blue again. Watch, said Mr. Wonka. Click went the machine, and the whizzer stopped whizzing. And now there came a sort of sucking noise, and very quickly all the blue frothy mixture in the huge basin was sucked back into the stomach of the machine. There was a moment of silence. Then a few queer rumblings were heard, then silence again. Then suddenly the machine let out a monstrous, mighty groan, and at the same moment a tiny drawer, no bigger than the drawer in a slot machine, popped out of the side of the machine, and in the drawer there lay something so small and thin and gray everybody thought it must be a mistake. The thing looked like a little strip of gray cardboard. The children and their parents stared at the little gray strip lying in the drawer. You mean that's all? Said Mike Teavee, disgusted. That's all, answered Mr. Wonka, gazing proudly at the result. Don't you know what it is? There was a pause. Okay, I'm going to show you the picture and then we'll turn the page. So this is a picture of the machine. And there's the little drawer with a little gray flat piece that came out. What do you think it's going to be? Do you have any predictions? Okay, let's see. There was a pause. Then suddenly, Violet Beauregard, the goofy gum-chewing girl, let out a yell of excitement. By gum, it's gum, she shrieked. It's a stick of chewing gum. Right you are, cried Mr. Wonka, slapping Violet hard on the back. It's a stick of gum. It's a stick of the most amazing and fabulous and sensational gum in the world. We'll have to find out more about the gum tomorrow. Do you want to know what the next chapter is called? Chapter 21. It's called Goodbye, Violet. Yikes, I wonder what's going to happen to Violet. We'll have to find out tomorrow, won't we, friends? All right, you guys, I hope you have a great night. I'll see you tomorrow. Enjoy. Take care. Bye, friends.